All right, so what's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name's Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary. And I'm reporting live from my apartment right now. Just wanted to come up and chop it up with the people about something that's been on my mind since I did the American Fiction movie review a few days ago. I just posted it on my YouTube channel about an hour ago, and hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully you watch the movie as well. I thought it was very good, very interesting, possibly one of the best films I've seen this year. And I feel like, honestly, I didn't give a full breakdown that I wanted to give on the movie because we were short on time. We only had about 2 hours until my wife had to go to work and I had to go to work too. So there's a lot I really wanted to say about this movie because it was very complex. Also, as well, if you're new to my channel, subscribe to this channel to stay up to date on my new releases, new things I'm talking about, and also subscribe to my Twitter, which is Laji Enrique. It's not hard to find. Just find it on my channel, how it's written, and follow all the movie reviews and discussions we'll be doing on there. I really want to come chop it up with the people about real topics, things that I find interesting, and I hope you enjoy this as well. So American Fiction is this new movie that came out about this Black American writer who continues to get put into this box of him writing Black fiction or Black stories. And he wants to write more than that. But the only books that seem to get pushed by mainstream society are the books where we are fulfilling stereotypes, drug dealers, rappers, gangsters, all that sort of stuff. So he writes a book like that as a joke, and then it ends up going pop. He wins awards for it and everything like that. And the ending of the movie, spoiler alert here, is at the end of the movie, he still has to give up creative control to the movie adaptation of his book to a white director, right? And it's a very profound movie. And I'm going to be reading here this article from the New York Times, breaking down this movie as well. The questions about what does it mean to create Black art? What does it mean to be a Black writer or a Black artist? And is our work inherently Black? Can we divorce our identity from the work that we make? I would argue, and I've said this before in the live stream earlier today I did with my wife on Twitter, no, you cannot divorce a person's culture, nationality, background from the type of art that they make because they are one and the same, right? I would say a Black story is even a story that has nothing to do with the things we typically associate with Blackness: racism, anti-Blackness, our hair texture, how we are perceived and viewed in society. I think even if you told the story of, hypothetically, a bunch of young Black kids going to camp or hike in Iowa, it would still be a Black story, even if none of those topics I mentioned or any others that you can think of that relate to Blackness typically would come up in the story, because that would be inherent. Like, Iowa is a very white place, right? Iowa is going to be a white place. Even if we told the story of those kids hiking and traveling throughout Africa, it would be the same thing. It would be a story about what does it mean to be Black in this world that is white supremacist, right? You can't divorce a story about women who are doing something in a world that is very sexist, and in a world that's very anti-woman, right? So I think the same thing would apply also to Black people. But I'm going to be reading this article from the New York Times. It's titled American Fiction: Origin and the Pressure Black Writers Face. The movies explore what happens when authors who focus exclusively on racism in their work push back against political and commercial stresses. Now, I have not seen the movie Origin. I believe it's the new movie from Ava DuVernay, and I heard it got a lot of great reviews. I'm looking forward to watching it as well and giving my take on it. I know a lot of people are upset that the main character is a Black woman who ends up falling in love with a white man or something like that, but we don't do those sort of politics on my channel, as you know. But going to be breaking down what this article says. So this was written by Salamisha Tillet, published on January 19th, 2024. We younger Negro artists who create now intend to express our individual dark-skinned selves without fear or shame. A young Langston Hughes proclaimed in an essay nearly 100 years ago, "If white people are pleased, we are glad. If they are not, it doesn't matter." Seeking to establish his autonomy as a Black writer, he concluded, "If colored people are pleased, we are glad. If they are not, their displeasure doesn't matter either. We build our temples for tomorrow, strong as we know how, and we stand up on top of the mountain, free within ourselves." I think this is the most important thing, and shout out to Langston Hughes, one of the greatest writers of all time. uh, yeah, I think we as black artists, and I view myself as an artist because I do believe I create art, even if it's experiential sort of pieces that are meant to be discussed and mulled over. You know, I believe life is some sort of performance art as well. Not saying that the stuff I've made or released is not real, but, you know, I used to be a rapper in the past. My music will still be out there that will outlive me. Hopefully somebody will find it and discover it and find value in it. I do believe writing about hip hop is art. Writing in itself is an art. I do believe creating YouTubes and live streams like this and discussing ideas is art. Life is a type of performance art. And as a black person, right, what I try to do, at least with my art, is to try to speak to other black people, talk about black issues and that sort of stuff. But other black people might not want to do that. Like there's black folks on YouTube who only talk about technology, new movies, new shoes, all sorts of stuff, right? But we can't divorce our blackness from our creations. And on top of that, what we are intending to create, whether it be for a white audience or a black audience, should just be to make us happy and to make our people happy. I do believe to some extent that black artists should be wary and cognizant of the idea that, you know, what we put out might reflect on us as a whole, as a people. So if I'm, you know, creating something, I should be wary that, you know, there are people out there in the world who don't know any black people and might see how I act or how I interact with people and then cast all of us in that light, right? I do think we need to be wary of that, but not so much in the sense that we self-censor, but in the idea that that is a part of what our responsibility is as artists and that sort of stuff. So shout out to Langston Hughes for that quote. That's how I interpret it. I'm going to continue with the story. So the writer says, I thought a lot about Hughes's landmark 1926 essay, The Negro Artist and the Racial Mountain, after watching how Ava DuVernay's origin and Cord Jefferson's American Fiction explored the fates of black writers who push back against political and publishing pressures to focus exclusively on racism in their works. Once again, I don't think talking exclusively about racism, anti-blackness, white supremacy is a bad thing because we have a very unique set of circumstances as black people in a white supremacist world. Our stories are so unique. I do think that is a little bit why in the movie American Fiction, the publishers were like, we want to publish the book My Pathology, which was then changed to The Story Fuck. They wanted to publish that book because when we think about the black experience, black life, or how the world is seen through black eyes, it is a very unique set of circumstances. What happens to a particular set of people who have been stripped of all identity, who continue to be oppressed, and yet and still continue to thrive and survive in this world? People are amazed by stories of the underdog. We as black folks are the perpetual underdog. And therefore, when we do tell our stories, people have no choice but to root us or to hate on us, but they cannot stop watching. That's how I view my content. When I go travel someplace and release a Blacksit video or something like that, I know for a fact people are going to be taken aback and people are going to attack me or people are going to elevate me because the world seen through black eyes is so unique. The world seen through the eyes of black people is more unique than any other set of people on this planet. I would argue we are a people who are able to see the complexities of life in a certain way because we have a particular set of circumstances that make us a unique people. That might sound like I'm just reiterating the same thing, but really think about it. We are a people who were the first to be the victims of modern globalization. We were a people transported across the planet, forced to work for the service of capital, transformed into a whole entirely new ethnic group where people that look like me have names like Simon and the last name Hill and that sort of stuff. Most of us follow a foreign religion or foreign religions such as Islam or Christianity, religions that while they do have their roots in Africa, have now been co-opted by a people who have used them to spread Arab supremacist or white supremacist ideas amongst us as well. We're a very unique set of people. So I do think, our stories that only focus on racism or only focus on white supremacy are very, very unique and very, very entertaining, also very engaging for people. And that's why they seem to gain a lot of traction. DuVernay's historically sweeping origin followed a fictionalized version of Wilkerson, powerfully rendered by Aljane Ellis Taylor as she conceives her nonfiction bestseller Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents, 2020, and discovers that hierarchical systems of power, not race, linked the oppression of blacks in the Jim Crow South to Jews in Nazi Germany and Dalits, India's most oppressed group, formerly called Untouchables. I have some contention with that analysis that, race is not one of the reasons why we are oppressed. I mean, I really have to think about that. I really have to break that down. I do think to some extent, I'll say this. Yes, people have consistently been oppressed throughout history, right? This is one of the favorite talking points of the white supremacists. A long time ago, the Irish were slaves. A long time ago, Italians were slaves, all that sort of stuff, all that stupid talking points people make. But I do think that race, as it was used and weaponized against us, because we are a phenotypically different set of people, black people, we distinctly stand out and we have a distinct, unique history on this planet. I do think that the white supremacists who did enslave us, or the people who continue to oppress us to this day, do use race as a cudgel over us. Now, I do think that's one of the biggest ways that they've been able to maintain their power over us, because black people cannot be whites, because we do not have the privilege that the Jews have, the Armenians have, Turkish people have, Arabs have, of blending in or hiding our identity, that is used as a way to permanently keep us as a sort of underclass that continues to be oppressed. And it is natural to some degree for humans to want to dominate others, for humans to want to maintain hierarchy and positions of power and privilege. But I do think that race, to some extent, continues to be one of the main reasons why, because maybe the white supremacists are jealous of us as being melanated people, people who can outstand that sort of stuff. But we're going to continue to, fight against those ideas. Andre Beja says, "Are you gay?" No, I am not gay. I'm a heterosexual man. I'm lovingly married to my wife, but Andre Beja, I heard you the first time when you asked the question. No, I'm not gay, but I do advocate for all black life, and I do advocate for all people of all backgrounds, whatever their sexual orientation, to have freedom, equality, justice, to not be mistreated because of their predilections or because of their orientation. So asking me if I'm gay, you might consider that to be an insult. I don't consider being gay an insult. There's nothing wrong with being gay. There's nothing wrong with being trans. There's nothing wrong with being your actual self. I'll say that. So I'm going to continue here. On the other hand, Jefferson adapted American fiction from Percival Everett's 2001 satirical novel Erasure, about an experimental fiction writer who refuses to publish books that stereotype black life as nihilistic and tragic. In protest, the fictional monk, poignantly played by Jeffrey Wright, spoofs a bestseller, We Lives in the Ghetto, by black female writer Issa Rae, anonymously publishing his caricature, My Pathology. The result is his most commercially and critically successful book yet. Absolutely great storyline. I love that right there. That's absolutely dope. That, this sort of, I really like how black writers are getting their just due shine by having so many of their books adapted into movies, and not the stereotypical books like of us being in the ghetto and stuff like that, but like Percival Everett's book and the other person who wrote the book, Cass Wilkerson. It's so good to see this high level of black culture and black intellectualism written into fiction and nonfiction being interpreted into film. So Andre Beja says, do you support Kosovo? That's a very good question. I generally support all people having the ability to have self-determination and independence. And I did some research on what happened in Kosovo to the ethnically Albanian people there who were living there, and how the Serbs treated them. I do think generally is wrong, right? I find all sorts of nationalism or all sort of disputes over borders to be absolutely insane, because I am an unapologetic globalist. I believe borders, nationalities, these sorts of things are archaic, and they are not for the advancement of all mankind, right? So fighting over borders, standing up and defending a border or a nation or a territory, to me is asinine, literally asinine. It's stupid. But the idea of Kosovo independence, to me, it doesn't bother me one way or another. Living in Serbia and speaking to Serbian people, I feel like a lot of even Serbs have raised their hands in the air and given up on the idea of Kosovo. I do think that the powers of be in Serbia and the greater Serb world probably still raise the issue of Kosovo as something to rally people towards Serbian nationalism. But generally, by and large, my experience talking to Serbian people, they really don't care about Kosovo, or if they do care, they do realize that the fight is pretty much over and Kosovo is now its whole totally ethnically different thing, nationally different thing, culturally different thing. So Kosovo, in my opinion, in the Serbian minds, me putting my brain in the mind of a Serbian, might be like a lost cause, right? It's a lost cause, even trying to gain it again. I do think in our lifetime, though, we will see Kosovo join the European Union as an independent nation. I do think in our lifetime also as well that we will see a unified South Korea with North Korea. But then again, you might call me a dreamer. All right, I'm going to jump to the next part right here. By the way, Andrew Beha left another comment saying, can you say something in Albanian? I won't say it because this is an English YouTube channel, guys. If you do not speak English, or if it's not a language that you feel comfortable in or fluent in, this is not the platform for you or space for you. My content is meant for Black Americans primarily, or people from the Anglophone world who are willing to deal with intellectual discussions and these sort of topics. This is not a channel where a Black person makes a fool of himself for the entertainment of his audience. This is an English YouTube channel, so I speak some Arabic, but I don't even practice it anymore, and I wish I still did. I'm starting to learn some Hungarian, but it's not that good as well. Baby says, it's pretty much impossible since Serbia is supported by India, China, and Russia, man. I don't know what exactly you mean is impossible. People, please be clear when you're writing your comments. I want to deal with and analyze all of your comments, but the comments have to be clear. You're saying it is pretty much impossible. What is it? You have to be specific about that. I'm going to continue with the article here. Despite the film's disparate sources and settings, it is no coincidence that both are haunted by the killings of innocent, unarmed Black boys by white police officers or everyday citizens. In origin, Trayvon Martin's tragic death at the hands of George Zimmerman motivates Isabel's editor, Amari Selvin, Blair Underwood, to ask her to write about it. She balks partly because she is on hiatus to take care of her mother, but also because she is uncertain if the assumption of Zimmerman's racist bias is the only explanation for his actions. This is the thing. There are a lot of people who would analyze a situation like George Zimmerman, a white Hispanic man who murdered a child by shooting him just because he was walking home in a neighborhood that George Zimmerman believed he was not supposed to be in. They would analyze that in a much deeper way, saying, you know, Zimmerman did it because we live in a society where guns are prevalent, where people are able to get their hands on weapons and murder other Americans. That's the truth about American society. They might also say people are very wary of criminality and property crime in America because we live in a society that worships private property, and any infringement on private property is considered a major sin to the American psyche, right? But I do think at certain times, when certain situations happen, like George Zimmerman's murder of Trayvon Martin, we don't need to make it overly complex. We don't need to over-intellectualize it. That was a racist murder. That was a racist murder. If that was a white boy walking through a neighborhood with Skittles and iced tea in his hand, he would still be alive. But because Trayvon Martin was a Black kid walking in his own neighborhood wearing hoodies, a hoodie like this, and he had my complexion, he gets murdered. That is not cool. And no, there's no other way of really talking about this story. We don't have to make it overly complex. I'm going to jump into the comments here. Andre Beja says, you're a good man. Then he also said, sorry for asking me to speak something in your language. It's okay. I mean, I'm open to other languages. I'm cool with other people speaking other languages, but my channel is an intellectual English YouTube channel where I read text, break down text with y'all, talk about my opinions, entertain your opinions, and also keep it real, Black, and raw. Andrew Beja says, from which part of the USA are you? Andrew Beja might be a new person here. I am from Louisiana. I'm from the great state of Louisiana. Born in Alabama, raised in Louisiana. The murder cappy, where brothers are murder happy. Ain't that crazy? I'm going to continue here with the story. So the person in the story says, you're saying the man isn't racist, Amari probes. She responds, no, not that he isn't racist. I'm wondering why everything is racist. That's deep. I mean, that is deep. We can really try to break down and contextual and really try to, go deep into why we live in a white supremacist world. We know the reasons why. It's because of colonialism, imperialism, and that sort of stuff. So her skepticism encourages her to dig deeper, traveling across continents and time periods, and eventually to find her answer in a global history of caste systems. The 17-year-old Martin Miles Frost is a recurring figure here, seeking shelter from the rain with Zimmerman, following near the movie's beginning and appearing again after she completes the book. Interesting. So she hangs out with George Zimmerman. This is the thing. We shouldn't, analyze our oppressors so much that we start to have Stockholm syndrome. I would never hang out with George Zimmerman. I would never hang out with Peyton Gentrin. I would never hang out with Dylan Roof. And I have no mercy for these people. There are people that might be like them and think like them, but before they commit heinous acts, they can be redeemed. But once you cross that line, you can never be redeemed as a person. Andre Beja says, I'm from Kosovo, Pristina. Shout out to the people of Pristina. Went and had a generally great time in Pristina. There was some anti-black racism I experienced in Kosovo, but overall it was one of the best travel experiences I ever had. Gonna continue here. Monk never formally names Martin or Michael Brown when his agent, Arthur John Ortiz, tells him that another publisher has passed on his book proposal because they are confused about what his reworking of the Persians, the Greek tragedy of Aeschylus, has to do with the African-American experience. They want a black book, Arthur tells him. Monk retorts, they have one. I'm black and it's my book, he adds. You mean they want me to write about a cop killing some teenager or a single mom in Dorchester raising 5 kids? Their reticence doubles as critiques of the narrative of race. Isabel believes that there must be more to the story, and Monk just wants to be able to write different stories. But for a critic like me, who strives to confront and escape oppression through my prose, these movies also notch another cinematic achievement. In addition to portraying century-long debates between African-American authors, their publishers, and the general public, the films provide rare insights into the black writer's creative process by showcasing the methods, mechanics, and single-mindedness that drives them. Absolutely true. I think it is true that within black intellectual thought, we have a lot of debates about these things, and I'm putting myself in it because I do view myself as an intellectual. If you don't, if you think I'm stupid, come and debate me, and we'll have that talk. But the thing about Monk, in the movie American Fiction, I truly believe that Monk was a black writer. And when he's taking form of black art, because taking that story and maybe putting it in the middle of Chicago or Miami or Atlanta or something like that, you're telling a black story, but you just might not see it or know it, or the public might see it and you don't want to see it. I do think Monk in the movie, behind the mask that he was trying to put up as this man who's post-racial, a man who doesn't care about race or doesn't believe in race, he still was a great American black author in the tradition of James Baldwin, Richard Wright, Langston Hughes, et cetera, et cetera. But maybe he didn't want to be boxed into that because he didn't want his books only to be analyzed by woke white liberals, and other black people, like as if he's preaching to the choir. But the thing about literature is that most people don't read books. Most people don't even watch an entire YouTube video. Most people that come onto my channel and leave long, racist, scathing critiques of my work don't even finish the video. How do I know? Here's a hint, guys. If you've ever made YouTube content, they release your analytics and they show you how long the average person watches the video. Most videos on YouTube only get 30% of the watch time. People only watch the first 30% of a video, and then they want to leave a comment just because people want to sound off. But this is the thing about YouTube. I have a phone, you have a phone, if you're watching this, or you have a computer at least. Everybody can make content. Everybody can talk about what they want to talk about. And so this is the thing, man. This is the thing. Monk didn't want his work to only be put in a box, but the thing about art, it's always going to be put in a box, and the context cannot be divorced from the content creator. Even if I talked only about furries, even if I only talked about music, even if I only talked about new tennis shoes, the fact that I am a black man, people would say this black guy is talking about shoes, even if I never bring up race at all. Because somebody in the comments eventually would say, why is this black guy talking about new technology? Black folks don't know nothing about technology and stuff like that. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? That's the point I'm trying to make here. All right, so some of the most riveting scenes in each movie combine these two ideas. We witness Isabel visiting archives, conducting interviews, and using a whiteboard to sketch out her ideas. All that work underscores the density of her framework and her efforts to persuade two supportive yet puzzled white publishers of her theory reveal how concise her ideas need to be before she presents them to a general audience. Once again, I have not seen Origin, so I cannot really comment on that. But if we're going to break down the anti-black racism or the white supremacy in this world and simplify simplify it just as people want hierarchy, or people want to maintain hierarchy. I think that's a bit simplistic. Andrew Beja says, I'm going to subscribe. Thank you, Andrew Beja. Please subscribe, everybody who's watching or anybody who will watch this in the future. We're going to continue to build and talk about deep topics here and continue to keep it entertaining, fun, black, and raw on this channel. So, in the framework of American fiction, a spoof within a satire, we never see Monk working on his newest novel. Instead, we must rely on others, his sister, Tracy Ellis Ross, and his girlfriend, Erica Alexander, to validate his literary talent. But in one of the movie's funniest moments, we see him at work on another work, a parody, and typing the hyperbolic dialogue of his fictional father-son pair, Willie and Van. As Monk sits in his home office, the characters appear alongside him so we can hear how much he exaggerates their language and how cliched their plot is. Van ultimately shoots Willie in the stomach after delivering a soliloquy that starts, I hate this man, I hates my mama, and I hates myself. Hoping to reveal the absurdity of such writing, Monk publishes it under the pseudonym Stag R. Lee, a play on the real-life 19th century black pimp nicknamed Stagger Lee. And much to his dismay, the book becomes the biggest hit of his career. Whether Isabel's or Monk's arguments ring true to their fellow characters is, in the end, only partly the point. The larger message is in the meta-narratives. By telling nuanced stories of black writers working at the problem of race on screen, we better understand the power of racism and its possible undoing. There is promise in these cinematic portraits. We could live in a world beyond racial categories if only we believe it enough to make it so. All right. So this was a very interesting article. I really enjoyed reading it, really enjoyed watching American fiction, and I look forward to watching Origin. Andrew Beja jumped into the comments and says, what time is it in America? Because at Kosovo, it's 3:41. Well, where I'm at, it's 3:42 because I live in Budapest, Hungary. Please, guys, stay up to date on, where I am and stuff like that. I say where I am literally in every video. I started this video talking about where I am. But yeah, I'm living in Budapest, Hungary right now. And I'll, be here for the next few years as I continue to study. I'm going to university, working, teaching English out here, all that sort of stuff. So just to get to what I didn't get to say, at least in the American fiction movie review, I feel like, the movie is very much a critique of modern American society and woke liberals who are a bit tone deaf when talking about our issues or dealing with black people who want to talk about the full complexities of what it means to be a black human being in this world. And I feel like the movie does a very good job on doing that. But one critique I have of the movie, and I didn't really get to build on it in the live stream or the review, is that they don't show white folks by themselves. The movie is only seen through the lens of a black creator, black writer, and that sort of stuff. And I do think it's important, if we are going to have these movies talking about racism, anti-blackness, and the white supremacist world we live in, we need to have white folks having honest discussions as well. The most frustrating thing about movies that deal with our existence is white folks are absent from it. And that might sound crazy, because they're in every movie as the racist antagonist. They're in every movie as the enemy to the people that want progress and that sort of stuff. But we never have honest discussions revealing how white folks actually think about these issues and how they come to these sort of conclusions in a world that is so, obviously oppressive to another whole subset of people, which makes me really wonder why those sort of topics aren't discussed. Because I do think it is taboo still for white folks to actually talk honestly about racism and that sort of stuff. Because if they start talking honestly about it, then some uncomfortable truths have to be revealed. Like the uncomfortable truth that the majority of white Americans are descended from slave owners. This is something that is not spoken about, but I've spoken about it on my channel. And when we do the history and look at the descendants of people, many white folks, even if their family came on, some boat from Italy back in 1920, there's so much intermarriage amongst people that so many people are descended from the same people that, bought people and human trafficked people and that sort of stuff. Or that reparations actually needs to be discussed and actually needs to be pushed forward as real solid legislation to be given to the descendants of those people. And yeah, the thing is, a lot of the times in this movie, a lot of times in movies like American Fiction, those sort of white voices where they have those conversations behind closed doors as to why they only want to see black folks as pimps, gangsters, hustlers, and stuff, that makes us, you know, black people who think about these issues have to reach some crazy conclusions. Wow, do these people, you know, really hate us that much? Do these people not see humanity in us? Even if they say they're woke or liberal and that sort of stuff, do they still view us as so less that our stories have to only be relegated to that? I don't know. That's why I wish they showed that in the movie, but nonetheless. All right, Andre Beja says, can you be my first black friend even though I'm 10? I don't know how old you are. If you're 10 years old, I don't know if I can be friends with a 10-year-old. But as far as friendship, I mean, everybody on my channel, generally, if you come and support, build, talk about the topics and stuff like that, you're my friend. You're cool with me. I got no problems with anybody here. So, yeah, Andre Beja, I guess I could be your friend. Please don't classify me as a black friend. I'm a human being. That's the sort of stuff that we're trying to fight against in these movies. See, that sort of stuff is why we want to try to, you know, talk about these issues and reach new conclusions. Can I just be a friend to a white person, or do I have to be a black friend, right? Sort of the same way Monk was going through it. He is a black person who is writing a story, but does all of his stories have to be black stories, right? I don't know. That's the big question. Once again, I say yes. I say at the end of the day, yes. Andre Beja, you don't have to say I'm sorry. Nobody has to say sorry here unless you're coming here and being anti-black in your viewpoints and stuff like that. But I have to get to work, guys. I have English class to get to. This was just a short live stream where I wanted to read this topic. Andre Beja says, sorry for being a little racist. Hey, it's okay. We all have to learn and grow. You know, everybody goes through different stages, and exposure to different people can make a lot of people open their minds and change their minds. So that's cool. Either way, thank you to everybody who tuned into this live stream. Baba Boy, Andre Beja, and that sort of stuff like that. Looking forward to hearing your guys' comments on this live stream or comments on other videos, and catch you next time. Peace.